Yeah, I saw you on The View.
Yeah. Yeah, so that's been overwhelming my past couple days.
Yeah, is that annoying?
When I was on there, I really had no idea how it was going to land with the audience. So I just went in there, did my thing. I had no idea what to expect. I didn't know who Sunny Hostin was. I actually still really don't know. So I wasn't expecting necessarily for her to kind of try to ambush me in that way. And
you can tell by the look on her face that she doesn't understand what he's saying.
When you do look at the socioeconomics, you see the huge disparity between white households and black households. So your argument that race has no place in that equation is really fundamentally flawed.
The question is, how do you address that in the way that actually targets poverty the best?
Great.
And what Martin Luther King wrote in his book, Why We Can't Wait, is he called it, we need a Bill of Rights for the Disadvantaged. And he said, yes, we should address racial inequality. Yes, we should address the legacy of slavery. But the way to do that is on the basis of class. And that will disproportionately target blacks and Hispanics because they're disproportionately poor, but it will be doing so in a way that also helps the white poor.
What happened on The View was anything but a routine daytime interview. The atmosphere shifted the moment Coleman Hughes sat down across from Sunny Hostin. What started as a simple conversation about his book quickly turned into something much bigger. Sunny didn't just challenge his arguments, she also questioned his character. Hughes stayed calm throughout, responding with facts, history, and clear reasoning. Before long, clips from the exchange were everywhere online, fueling debates far beyond the show's audience. The story you're about to hear is based on publicly available footage and reports. And after it all unfolded, Joe Rogan weighed in to break down how a single interview became a viral moment.
Ladies of The View didn't much like that, especially Sunny Hostin. Watch.
We should try our very best to treat people without regard to race, both in our personal lives and our public policy.
Of course.
And the reason I wrote this book, thank you. The reason I wrote this book is because in the past 10 years, it has become very popular to, in the name of anti-racism, teach a kind of philosophy to our children and in general that says your race is everything, right? And I think that is the wrong way to fight racism.
I don't want to say it's your youth, but I think you have a point, but I think you have to also take into consideration what people have lived through.
The default right now in a lot of areas of policy is to use, black and Hispanic identity as a proxy for disadvantage. And my argument is that you actually get a better picture of who needs help by looking at socioeconomics and income. That picks out people in a more accurate way. Right. So.
And I've read your book twice because I wanted to give it a chance. Your argument that race has no place in that equation is really fundamentally flawed.
Coleman Hughes came to The View to discuss his book, but the conversation quickly took an unexpected turn. He explained his perspective, focusing on Martin Luther King Jr.'s vision and the idea that poverty and class can play a larger role than race in many issues. His points were measured and supported by history. It didn't take long for Sunny to push back. With a calm but firm tone, she said she had read his book twice and believed it was fundamentally flawed. The comment immediately changed mood in the room. Coleman remained composed, listening carefully before responding. After the interview aired, many viewers took to social media to debate what happened. Some wondered if the exchange was always going to be this tense, while others saw it as a genuine disagreement between two very different viewpoints, and that was only the beginning. Subscribe now to see how Joe Rogan later weighed in on the interview and why this moment continued to spark conversations online.
Well, it is the show that people love to hate.
yes, that's true. That's true.
They get so much hate watching and hate watching viral clips of them saying ridiculous things. I mean, it is a rabies infested hen house.
The most interesting part was their audience seemed to be on my side.
Yes.
And that's their audience.
Yes. Well, their audience is not really their audience. Their audience is a group of people they bring in to watch television shows. I don't know if you've ever seen audiences before for TV shows, but a lot of them are paid. They're paid to be there. So, because they have to guarantee that there's...
The conversation was already getting intense, but things escalated even more when Joe Rogan shared his thoughts. He took aim at The View, calling it the show people love to hate, and joking that it felt like a rabies-infested henhouse. It was a harsh comparison, but it quickly caught people's attention. Many viewers felt it summed up the show's fast-paced and often heated debates. Then Coleman Hughes shared something that surprised him. Despite the tension on set, he said he sensed support from the audience. In a room where he may have expected resistance, he noticed people responding positively to what he had to say. That observation added another layer to the story. Because once the interview ended, the discussion didn't stay in the studio. It spread across social media, where reactions only continued to grow. Stay tuned, because this debate was far from over.
I read the book twice because I wanted to give it a chance, and she was like, "Yeah, this is a piece of shit. I'm going to read it one more time. Maybe I'll get it."
It's a lie.
I don't think you read it once.
She didn't read
seems
anything.
to have picked through. But to cut, it's like that's what a dumb person says to sound like they're smart. Like, it's fundamentally flawed.
But so Sonny's getting upset because one of the big problems with Coleman is he's black. And you can't dismiss
Please
it.
take that quote out of context. And just read it.
It's just the worst.
Sonny would
That's the worst part
love.
about it, to be honest. But
She'd love to be like, okay, Karen, but she can't.
Yeah.
Right? She can't.
The audience seemed caught in the moment, unsure whether to applaud or simply stay silent. Before long, clips of the exchange were spreading all over social media. People replayed the interview, paying close attention to Sonny's reactions and debating whether her questions felt more like accusations than genuine curiosity. By that point, the conversation had clearly become more heated. The criticism came quickly, and the labels followed just as fast. Many guests might have struggled under that kind of pressure, but Coleman Hughes stayed composed. In fact, the more intense the discussion became, the calmer he appeared. And then came the response that changed the tone of the entire exchange. Was it simply confidence under pressure? Or was Coleman showing viewers exactly how these debates often unfold in real time? That's the question many people were left asking.
Your argument for color blindness, I think, is something that the right has co-opted. And so many in the black community, if I'm being honest with you, because I want to be, believe that you are being used as a pawn by the right and that you're a charlatan of sorts.
He's not a Republican.
So how do you...
He's never voted for a Republican.
You said that you're a conservative.
No.
No, you did. You actually said that in the podcast that you did 2 weeks ago.
I said I was a conservative.
Yes, you did.
I don't think I've been co-opted by anyone. I've only voted twice, both for Democrats. Although I'm an independent, I would vote for a Republican, probably a non-Trump Republican if they were compelling. I don't think there's any evidence I've been co-opted by anyone, and I think that that's an ad hominem tactic people use to not address really the important conversations we're having here. And I think it's better, and it would be better for everyone if we stuck to the topics rather than make it about me.
I want to give you the opportunity to respond to
I appreciate
the criticism.
I appreciate it. There's no evidence that I've been co-opted by anyone.
The studio had just witnessed Sonny deliver her strongest criticism yet, calling Coleman everything from a pawn to a charlatan. Those remarks seemed to linger in the room, leaving everyone waiting for his response. But Coleman never changed his tone. He didn't get defensive or push back with anger. With the calm of someone speaking honestly in the moment, he simply pointed to his own track record, 2 votes cast for Democrats, and a willingness as an independent to support anyone he believes is credible, whether they're a Republican or not.
Yes.
And I think part of the reason it went viral is because what people have told me is you very rarely see someone who gets a character attack on a big TV platform calmly expose it as evidence-free and then just move back to the topic.
Yeah, well, that was beautiful that you did that. And that's how everybody should approach these things. And the problem is...
It was a real-time turning point. Coleman redirected the attack, calling it what it was, an ad hominem argument that shifted attention away from the real discussion about poverty and class. In that moment, the audience leaned in. It's not often you see someone stay calm under pressure and challenge the argument instead of the person. Online, that clip spread faster than any other. People weren't just talking about what Sonny said, they were talking about how Coleman handled it. And it left many asking an important question. When calm reasoning meets televised outrage, who ends up being judged in the end?
He had tweeted that, like, if you want to call me a conservative, I'm not going to be bothered, but that's not how I call myself.
Yes.
Aha! That's how the thinking is at The View.
What she is saying in so many dumb, sort of convoluted ways, she's trying to call him an Uncle Tom.
Yes.
Yeah,
that's what
right.
it is.
Without a doubt.
Why do white people on the right like you?
What happened next almost felt unreal. The viral interview clip suddenly vanished from YouTube as if it had never existed. But by then, social media had already done its job. People had clipped it, shared it, and kept the conversation alive. The moment was already too big to contain. Coleman could only laugh at how strange it all was. He had walked into the interview with no expectations, not even knowing who Sonny was, yet somehow he walked out at the center of a nationwide debate.
Is that she channeled a lot of the way that people interact with Coleman Hughes in the world. That is a style of argumentation that is really popular in the media and broadly on the left as well, of like, oh, you know, you're being co-opted by the right. You said something that the bad people agreed with and like retweeted or did this, and I thought that you were an ally, and now I guess you're not an ally or whatever. This is a style of argumentation, and it was great to see Coleman with his like heart rate down at 42, as it always is. Point out that this is a bad style of argumentation.
The story could have ended there, a heated exchange, a few headlines, and then everyone moves on. But that's not what happened. The conversation found a new audience when it made its way to Joe Rogan's studio. With his usual style, Rogan broke down the moment and shared his view of what the show has become, arguing that it often favors attention-grabbing moments over meaningful discussion. He also drew a sharp contrast between Sonny's perspective and Coleman's independent approach, and what he had to say next added even more fuel to an already growing debate.
I think Sonny's very intelligent, but she's ideologically captured.
Right.
You know, that's sort of, I think the other ones, there's a couple of the other ones, don't have to name any names, who are just very dull-minded. But I think Sonny's not one of them. I think she's smart, but captured.
She came into it, it seems, really wanting to paint me as someone that has been co-opted by the right wing.
Yeah.
And I don't know how much research she had done into me. She claimed to have read my book twice, which is almost certainly not true.
By the time the clip reached Joe Rogan's studio, it was already everywhere online. Coleman sat across from him as Rogan leaned back with the kind of smile he usually reserves for moments he finds hard to believe. "This is the show people love to hate," Rogan said with a shake of his head. In his view, the view would become less about debate and more about creating viral moments. He described it as a place where controversy often takes center stage and where noise can sometimes overshadow meaningful conversation.
The real fans of The View that are like, oh, these ladies are on point. Most of those people can't leave the house.
South African president paid a visit to the White House yesterday, which turned into a surprise presentation on conspiracy theories of a white genocide in his country.
I think the problem with that show is that show has this very specific ideological bubble in which they operate in. You know, and they always bring on a token conservative woman and they yell over her and silence her.
So between ambushing Zelensky and this, why would world leaders continue to come to the White House?
Well, their audience is not really their audience. Their audience is a group of people they bring in to watch television shows. If you've ever seen audiences before for TV shows, a lot of them are paid because they have to guarantee that there's going to be people there. So there's services that you hire.
This is the problem with getting all your information from Laura Loomer and Elon Musk. This is what they're going to deal you.
It's a very strange show.
Rogan didn't stop there. He expanded his criticism, arguing that The View operates inside its own bubble. He questioned the show's format, from its enthusiastic audiences to the way political disagreements often play out on air. In his opinion, many of the biggest moments seem built to generate headlines and keep people talking long after the episode ends. It wasn't just criticism, it sounded like an attempt to pull back the curtain on how daytime television works. And as Rogan continued, he raised a bigger question. How many of these televised debates are really about exchanging ideas, and how many are designed to keep the outrage cycle going?
And Sonny decided to take up a few minutes of that precious 8 minutes and attack me as someone who's been co-opted by the right and someone who's a charlatan. And
did she use the term charlatan?
She did. And it's funny because I actually didn't notice it in real time. I kind of went in one ear and out the other. But
how did she say it? Do you remember what
she said? Something like, a lot of people in the black community, implicitly herself included, think that you've been co-opted by the right and that you're a charlatan.
Oh wow! It's a dumb way of addressing a thing, and to immediately say that someone's been co-opted with no evidence whatsoever. There's nothing about anything that you say that seems right wing. You know, you're just objectively looking at these subjects and giving a very intelligent and
8 minutes. That's all Rogan said. The View devoted to discussing one of America's toughest topics, race. Yet, in his view, much of that time is spent questioning Coleman's motives rather than engaging with his arguments. Rogan noted that Coleman didn't even seem bothered by the comments in the moment. He argued that labeling someone without evidence isn't a strong way to make a case. To him, Coleman's views weren't partisan. They reflected a thoughtful and measured perspective. Rogan even added that Coleman was one of the most politically independent people he'd ever spoken with.
It's a bizarre show.
So we had 8 minutes, and America's approach to race, pretty big topic, pretty important topic.
I think the way you, before you start, I think the way you described it is brilliant, and the way we should all look at it. Of course, you're going to see race. The idea of being colorblind is ridiculous. But treat everybody. They're just human beings.
Yeah.
Everybody's just individuals.
That's right.
That's what we should all hope for. And then there's some people who are good-intentioned, but have a very narrow perspective and a very limited amount of information that they're operating under, that will try to pretend that these things are overall good, are net positive.
Right. And Sonny Hostin may be one of those people.
The sparks in the studio were impossible to ignore, but the conversation quickly grew beyond just Sonny and Coleman. It became part of a larger debate about how political labels are often used to dismiss ideas before they're fully discussed. Rogan and his guests explored that bigger question, asking whether the country has fallen into a pattern where outrage takes center stage while deeper issues are left unresolved. And for many watching, that may have been the most important takeaway of all.
Keeping his composure, all credit to him. But it is just such an embarrassing thing to see happen. And for him to, to be gracious, thank her for the opportunity to respond to these things. When I'm having a sophisticated argument about some important issue that has great gravity to me, the last thing that I want to do is burn time talking about this person's presumed motives and the way that they've been mind controlled into having their particular views. Talk about my ideas. Don't talk about me. Don't talk about my relationship with my kids or my wife if it isn't relevant to the discussion. Talk about the ideas. He did that. He stuck to the point. There is a reason why people like Sonny run away from the opportunity to actually debate the merits of very crystal clear, transparent proposals.
In the aftermath, the irony stood out to many observers. Coleman's biggest offense, some argued, was simply refusing to fit the role others expected him to play. While the conversation grew more personal, he repeatedly returned to his main points, quoting Martin Luther King Jr. and discussing poverty and class. Commentator Kamele Foster later summed it up by saying it was disappointing to see so much time spent on personal criticism when there was an opportunity for a deeper conversation about issues affecting the country.
I do think what he is doing in public is important and relevant and is helping to elevate our discussions about race and a range of other issues. So the audience is with him. And I think it tells you a great deal. The executives in the C-suite, the people who are hosting these shows, they may be complete fundamentalist ideologues on these issues. But regular people, everyday Americans, generally share the same sensibilities. They want to they believe in human dignity. They want to judge people on the basis of their individuality. And I think a lot of people have been pulled in unhealthy directions in recent years, but that is starting to snap back into the right place.
But there was an unexpected turn. Many viewers felt that parts of the audience seemed more receptive to Coleman's message than anyone had anticipated. Foster argued that it reflected something larger, that people are growing tired of labels and are more interested in hearing honest debates about ideas. It also raised an interesting question. If even a studio audience can respond to a calm and measured approach, what does that say about the broader public? For now, the moment remains a reminder that while outrage may grab attention, thoughtful discussion can leave the strongest impression.
But when you say 30,000 civilians, it's not 30,000 civilians that have though.
How many thousands of?
So according to Gaza Health Ministry, which is run by Hamas, the number they have is 32,000, but they don't distinguish between Hamas and civilians.
How many members of Hamas are there?
40,000, something like that. I don't think the number is known, but it's tens of thousands. So Hamas says 32,000 people have been civilians and soldiers. Israel says 13,000 soldiers have been by Israel. So let's not doubt either number. They could both be inflated, but if both of those numbers are accurate, which they may or may not be, that would be 13,000 soldiers, 19,000 civilians, which for urban combat in the Middle East is a very normal ratio. It's very distinct from genocide, because genocide is when you're trying to maximize civilian casualties. I think Israel, however imperfectly, is doing the opposite. They're trying to minimize civilian casualties.
What began as a tense moment on daytime television quickly became something much bigger. Coleman Hughes appeared on The View to discuss his book and left at the center of a national conversation. Sonny's criticism, Coleman's calm response, and Joe Rogan's commentary turned a short interview into a broader discussion about race, class, and identity in America. The question now is simple. Which approach resonated more with viewers? The heated criticism or the measured response? One thing is clear, this debate isn't going away anytime soon. This video is based on publicly available interviews, media reports, and commentary involving Joe Rogan, Coleman Hughes, and Sonny. It is intended for commentary, criticism, and analysis under fair use principles. If you enjoyed this perspective, be sure to subscribe for more stories and discussions. Thanks for watching.